All right. Hey, I'm back. I'm here with Greg Levitz, Brian Michaud. Tonight we're going to talk about travel, specifically dive travel, but travel in general. And Brian, let's start off because Brian's going on a trip at the end of the week or next week.
Friday morning.
Beautiful. Okay, so the reason I wanted to do this was one, Brian's going on a trip, but no matter what you're doing or where you're going, you have a, I don't want to say a tendency, but it always happens. You always forget something. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to come up with different ideas, and I want to hear, I guess, what system does Brian use to pack and get ready to go on a trip? Greg, what system do you use? I'll go over, what I do, which is really not a system, but we'll have some fun with it because I'm always buying stuff when I get to where I'm going, I forgot it. So let's have some fun with it, guys. So Brian, you're going on a trip. Where are you going? What are you doing?
So you may think I'm crazy.
Oh, I already do.
Well, in the middle of this wonderful pandemic that we have going on, Friday morning I'm flying to Florida, which is now the hot spot.
I was going to say, because their numbers aren't rising every day or anything.
By like 15,000 a day, but whatever. No, we're going to the Keys. My sister's got a place there, and it's going to be just the five of us there. So that's why we're still going. If we were doing Disney or anything like that, no, this trip would have been canceled.
And we postponed our cruise that was happening in a month, and we pushed it out a year.
Yeah, you just, until everything settles out, whatever. So, so we're leaving Friday morning. So I had Monday off work. So I spent the day Monday. The primary goal of this trip for me is going to be a dive trip.
Okay.
I plan on diving pretty much every day. So my gear.
That's always a good plan.
Right? My wife's gear, and then gear for my sister, who I hope to be certifying open water when I go down there. Holy cow, that's a lot of gear. I had our spare room. There's a bed in there. I had gear everywhere.
Now, are you driving down or flying?
I'm flying.
Okay.
I sent a couple of tanks down ahead with my sister who drove down.
Yep.
I'm not diving doubles, but I did send my 130 and I sent one of my 100s down for me and Penny. They bought 4 brand new tanks, so they've got their 4 tanks. So there's a total of 6 tanks that we have to use for the 5 of us, which is good. So that's kind of taken care of.
Let's interject for a minute, because normally you wouldn't bother flying with tanks and weights.
Oh, Lord, no.
Normally you would rent tanks and weights when you got to wherever you were going.
When I first started diving, I had got my open water. We were going on a trip. I was going to dive on the trip. And I had the nice Seasoft weight belt, the 30-pound belt. I brought it on my carry-on. Oh, I got pulled out of every line and strip searched, and oh, my Lord. It's like, what, you guys never seen a lead belt before? Yeah, what are you doing bringing it on a plane? Did that only once. Don't care anymore. But so
you never told me that.
I didn't tell you about that? Oh my Lord, man. So I've got in my backpack, I've got a regulator, a dive computer, and a lead weight belt. Oh, they saw that through the X-ray and went, what's going on here? They thought they were going to, and this was 20 years ago. I got pulled out of line. They looked under my shirt. They had me drop my shorts. I mean, yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Pulled everything out of the bag. Look, it's nothing, but whatever. So, after that trip, I stopped. In fact, I half thought about leaving the weight belt down there just so I wouldn't have to go through that coming back. And a 30-pound belt, throw that in your luggage. You're now paying for extra luggage. So Yeah, I went through it coming home too. But anyway, um, so I set everything out on the bed, the regulators, the BCs, the fins, the masks, all the dive gear, and then said, okay, what do I absolutely need for this trip?
Okay.
Because as you know, if you just grab everything you have, you're not taking it all on a plane. So I had to go through and pick a surface marker buoy for Penny, one for me, my lift bag, my
So,
back plate and wing,
so
and
how do you go about that? Do you start head to toe? Do you go toe to head? Do you how do you make sure
I went
you have?
I went by categories.
Okay.
So I started because the way I load my bags, I start by putting the fins in first because they go in and they kind of form like a back to the bag. It's a backpack style bag. So I said, all right, fins. I put Penny's fins in her bag. I put my fins in my bag. I said, all right, now let's put in exposure protection. Um, I like to throw that at the bottom when I'm planning for a trip. It just it gives it a little cushion at the bottom. So while we're not bringing the big heavy wetsuits because we're going to Florida, the 3 mil shorty, the rash guards, that kind of stuff, that went in the bottom for the two of us.
You know the
Then,
funny thing is, even if I'm in Florida, I'm in my dry suit. I change my undergarment, but I'm in my dry suit.
oh, I ain't wearing that thing down there. There ain't no way. Dude, I can wear my dry suit with no undergarments in 40-degree water and be comfortable for an hour. There's no way I'm wearing my dry suit down there.
Greg gets cold easy.
I'm a hot-blooded Canadian. What can I say?
There you go.
So that stuff went in. Then I looked at masks and snorkel. Penny is very particular about her snorkel, so I had to make sure that her snorkel was in her bag. And then I put my masks in my fin pockets, put hers in the fin pocket, put them in the bags. Ironically enough, we're bringing 2 sets of fins each, with boots and full foot.
Now, why?
What's that?
Why?
Because the majority of the diving that we're going to be doing, we might actually be doing far more snorkeling than diving. The full foot fins that I have are actually dive fins. They're not just snorkel fins. It's a set of Atomic full foot dive fins. I actually just got them. I'm kind of excited to try them out diving. I've used them in the pool a couple times. I think they're kind of neat. I don't know how I'm going to feel about them on an actual dive, so I want to try them out.
Okay.
But for like snorkeling and stuff like that, oh yeah, I can see, when we do our next cruise, not bringing my boots and fins, but just bringing those.
Okay.
So that's why we've got the both. Penny, if we're doing something from shore, just snorkeling, she would much rather wear her full foot as opposed to putting on her boots and her fins. Going on a dive, she's probably going to want her normal fins. So that's why I threw them both in there. And then the boots to go with them. After that was the BC. She's got a regular Oceanic BC that went in. Me, I got my back plate and wing. That got all tucked up nice. I made sure a knife was attached, that whole deal, so that we've got that, cutting devices. That stuff got loaded in.
Now, are you going to run into any problems bringing a knife onto a plane?
Checked luggage? No.
Okay.
This stuff is checked luggage.
Yeah.
That went in the bag. And then my lights. I got a bag with my lights and stuff. That went in the bag as well. The stuff that does not go into checked luggage, my regulators, dive computer, which that's proving to be challenging on this on this trip because I've got 2 regulator bags and they're stuffed. I can't pare it down to one. And then the stuff that I have to bring for my sister's gear, the BC and regulator that I'm bringing with me. She's got all the rest of her stuff down there, but that's the stuff I got to bring. So we have to actually pack that later tonight.
Now, I'm just throwing out questions just to ask questions. Now, would it make sense at all to ship some of this stuff down there. So ship your regulators and your computers. UPS, here you go.
I've never looked into that, but I got to tell you, with the money that I got sitting in those dive bags, I'm keeping them even on the plane. I'm keeping them with me. They're not going in checked luggage. I'm holding on to them the whole way there.
Greg, he just got new toys. That's why he's paranoid.
I would be paranoid too.
Well, and you guys say that, but I just shipped my electronics for my rebreather, which is roughly $3,500, and
Totally different story.
Yeah, but you're
And
shipping
way
them back
around.
for servicing.
Here's the difference.
Yep.
Here's the difference the way I would look at it.
okay,
You're shipping something, but you're not going to go there and dive what you just shipped.
yep,
Right.
Right. So I take Brian's approach a little bit where I'm looking at it saying, what can I easily replace? Wetsuits, I can easily replace. You can buy them, especially in Florida. For free.
Anywhere.
You can buy them on a corner. Does not matter whatsoever.
yep,
So for me, I pack everything and carry on everything that I can't replace right away. You know what I mean? So like my wing, I like my wing. I like my back plate. It's all set up just for me. My regulators, they all go into a backpack. I don't pack all my, if wetsuit wise, I've shipped wetsuits down. I've shipped boots, all those little things I've shipped them. Not an issue. And shipped them back. So I didn't have to carry them through the airport.
Yep.
Because they're wet usually. A lot of times they're wet when I'm shipping them. It's just the way it is. There's boom, gone. So it's, for me, I carry on. I definitely carry on what I can't replace quickly. Pretty simple to me. I also pare it down. I look at it and say, I know that if I was driving, so you get driving versus flying. If I'm driving, I'm going to pack everything I can.
Load it all.
Well,
You
see,
know,
and that I've never flown with dive gear.
right.
Everywhere I've gone, I've always brought my truck. I had all my gear to do what I was going to do wherever I was going. So if I
Right.
was going to Dutch, I had 2 sets of doubles, stage bottles, blah, 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 blah. But
Yeah.
everything was in my truck.
Right.
Mhm.
Well, the other thing is, I am a firm believer of good roller bags. So, and dive roller bags that are solid. I have a few of them, and the one that I have was just funny. Nobody would ever think there's stuff in there because it's held together with number 36 cave line. It's all just wound around the whole bottom from being destroyed over time. It literally is held together with that. Nobody, you look at that bag and go, what does he have? His dirty underwear in there? That's,
That's a poor man's bag. Let's skip it.
it's
That's awesome.
Exactly. But I will say, I happened to see when we were flying out to the Bahamas years ago, I did see people's really expensive dive bags get body slammed onto the conveyor belt going up.
Oh, I can imagine.
Matter of fact, when I was coming back from California, they body slammed my bike. I was sitting right there, watching out the window, watching the whole bike comes up, boom. And, things happen. So you got to be really careful what you check in.
Yep.
Because, they're usually trying out for, WWF or whatever you
Yeah.
call it, WWE.
Yeah, so like I have checked my regulators in the past, but I have them in the middle of my bag. And I usually put them in my clothing bag. Like if we go on a cruise, I put them in my clothing bag, not the dive bag. And I lay them in flat. I haven't had an issue.
Right.
But this trip, I'm bringing 6 regulators.
Yeah, and that's heavy. That's really heavy to carry.
It's really heavy.
Mm.
2 dive computers, I suppose technically 3 because there's one in the setup that I'm bringing for my sister. And looking at the value of all of that, yes, it's easily replaceable in Florida, but it's not cheap. I couldn't afford to replace it in Florida. You know, the only reason I was able to afford to buy it is because I work at a dive shop.
Right. Dan Insurance, doesn't that cover that?
Yeah.
Cost?
Yep.
Yep.
It does. But I'm
Here's-
going to be there for a week, so I don't want to have to use insurance.
Totally
Here's
get
my
it.
plug.
That's the other thing. Take pictures of all your gear before you leave.
Yeah.
That's a really, really important thing with the
Yep.
serial numbers if they're around there.
Yep. So that if something happens, it gets stolen, sold, whatever, you can track it.
Yeah.
Yep. But that's for a dive trip. That's what I do. Like when we finish this, I need to go finish packing. Clothing wise, because of where we're going, minimal shorts, t-shirts, couple changes of underwear, whatever. We're gonna be in the water most of the time anyway. Who cares?
It's amazing you don't care about your clothes.
Not even a little.
All
Not
the
even
time
this.
here.
Penny's like, well, we have a what? I'm like, I don't care. She's like, but I don't care. I'm like, I care about the dive gear. We're gonna be diving and fishing off my brother-in-law's boat. You know, when we go on a cruise, we do a dive. Everything else we're doing, we're exploring the islands, we're doing whatever. So there's a lot more of other stuff. So I pare my dive gear down considerably.
Yeah.
When we're going on a cruise. I'll bring my BC regulator and fins, you know, mask and fins. I'm not bringing all the stuff I'm bringing now. Like on this one here, I'm planning on doing some training for an open water student. I've got my sister and brother-in-law who were recently certified. So I'm going to bring them on a couple of dives, kind of push their skills a little bit while we're there. So I've got a lot more stuff. I'm bringing slates. I'm bringing, all kinds of stuff just because the thrust of the diving for this one is a little different than when we typically go away on a vacation where we're going to be gone for a week, but I might do like one morning of dives. We'll go for a 2-tank dive and then that's it. And, we're not touching the gear for the rest of the week. So for something like that, it gets pared way down. Our last cruise that we took, I put both of my gear and Penny's gear in one stall sack.
Mm-hmm.
I have 3 stall sacks for this trip, plus 2 regulator bags. So
Yeah.
Now, okay. So I've once again, I've never flown. I've never flown to go on a dive trip. I've never been out of the country to go on a dive trip. So different aspects. So a lot of people, I know a lot of people personally have booked a dive trip to the Bahamas or Mexico, and they don't remember to get their passport, or they don't remember to renew their passport.
Passport. I'll tell you a quick story. So my wife coming back into the United States, I don't understand it. She packed her passport somehow in another type of bag, in one of the other ones. Like I think it was like the might have been the check-in bag or something. Checked in. We had to wait like an hour and a half to get it, and it was a huge issue. That's a really good point about.
So generally, unless you drive to Maryland, I think, unless you drive to the actual federal building where they process passports, it takes generally 4 months?
Well, you can get them. You can pay extra. They're really quick. Yeah.
I want to say 6 weeks, I think is what ours were.
Okay. I guess my point, it takes time.
Yeah.
Yes.
It takes more time than just going down to the post office and handing in your application, that kind of thing.
Yep.
Yeah. That's just one part of it. Sure.
Yeah. What other considerations do you guys
Money.
okay, so like what?
Tips for dive masters.
Okay.
Where do you keep your money? Where do you bring your wallet?
I don't want to know where you keep your
No,
money.
no, I know that, but the question
Tucks
really,
it in his bra.
yeah,
Or his G-string. You know?
well, you know,
Hey, this is a family show.
but really, it's where do you keep your money, and you know what? Because that's always an issue. You always have a dive buddy who says, "Hey, can you hold my tip money?" A lot of us will pool if we're diving with a bunch of guys. We'll pool our tips, and then hand the dive master or the captain really a lump sum of money. Let him figure out what to do with it.
Okay,
That
and
gave me-
so the couple times that I've been in that situation, I've always done everything with a card.
How do you tip a guy with a card?
Afterwards, people now take Venmo. They have Square.
Oh, I've never done that. Yeah,
You're old.
old
We get
school.
it.
Yeah, cash is king, so I never really did it that way.
Has him turn around, swipes the card.
You know, turn around, bend over.
But anyway,
We
you know the other thing
the
is,
conversation's going.
yeah, the other thing is emergency contact information
Yep.
and make sure where you tell somebody where it is.
Okay, so with that there, who do you tell? You're going on vacation with your wife and your daughter.
Yeah,
Who do you tell?
or dive boat.
What's that?
If you're on a dive boat, you're going to tell your buddy where everything is, or you're going to tell the captain or the dive master. Here's all my emergency information.
Okay.
So I'll give you a good example of that. We went on a cruise. Penny was supposed to dive with me that day. She wasn't feeling good. She decided, I'm not going to bother going. I don't feel well. I go on the dive. So when I tell her, this is the dive now, and the dive through the cruise got canceled because not enough people signed up. So I get off the boat with all my gear, and I'm like, I'm going to find somebody to go diving with. A cabbie.
This is determination.
Oh, I'm diving. I don't care. We were in Freeport, Bahamas,
Oh, dive in the sludge of the boat. That's what you'll be doing.
right? I didn't care. This was our last stop before coming home. We had made like 5 stops. And we're like, no, we're going to dive Freeport. No, we're going to dive Freeport. We paid for it. It was good. It was ready to go. Then we get, the overnight sail to Freeport. They go, oh, yeah, sorry, not enough. We canceled the trip. I'm like, you guys stink, but whatever. I get off the boat, bag on, and I go up to where I was supposed to go for the dive trip. And I said, look, you guys canceled my dive. You've already refunded my money. Thank you very much. I still want to dive. So the woman there is like, all right, because there's a bunch of people on the island, a bunch of shops. So she helped me. We both picked up the phone, called the shop. Yep, we got a group that's about to go out. We're going to be leaving here in about an hour. If you can get here, we'll wait for you. I'm like, okay. Second question, how much? Because now they got you. So now I'm wondering, is it going to be double what I paid for the cruise?
Right.
It was $45. It was half of the cruise.
That's
for a
always
two-tank
that
dive.
way. It's always that way, though.
But because it was canceled through the cruise ship, now I could. Now, if you try to go anywhere and make arrangements aside of the cruise ship, there's contracts with everyone. They can't do it unless the cruise has canceled the dive. As soon as they cancel it, now it's open.
Yeah.
So at any rate, okay, good. He goes, here's our address. Get a cab ride. We'll wait for you. Thank you. I get a cabbie. That was an experience all unto itself. Where are you going? Here's where I'm going. I don't know what that is. Then why are you a cabbie? The island's not that big. We finally get there. She goes, you want me to pick you up? No, thanks. I'll figure it out. But back to the information, I had let Penny know where I was going.
That's like the girl. Do you want me to call you? No, I'll give you a call.
I'll give you a call. And meanwhile, you throw the number away. So we go on the dive. Great dive. The dive master was awesome. There was the boat captain, an instructor, a dive master, They were actually doing a class. There was someone who was getting their open water. It was the last dive for their open water. And there was someone who was getting their advanced. So we actually did a reverse profile dive because of the two classes that were happening on the boat. I got there. They're like, okay, so who are you? What are you? Yada, yada. I'm like, well, normally I'd pull out my open water or my advanced card, but I'm actually an instructor. They're like, oh, cool. So you don't mind doing, I'm like, hey, we can go do whatever. I'm just happy to get in the water. Off we go. I get stung by a sea urchin on the dive. We get back, we're coming up the line, and I'm holding on to the line, picking up all that nice junk on your hand, right? I get on the boat. I strip down my my 3 mil shorty that I was wearing, and I just had this like little prick pain in my side, and my hand following up the line. I'm now rubbing on my skin where I had 3 marks of a sea urchin that went through that I didn't realize. A few minutes go by. I'm like, man, my feet feel weird. My legs feel weird. I'm having a hard time to breathe. I sucked down 2 bottles of oxygen on that boat as we were on our way back to dock. From the diaphragm down, I was completely numb. Couldn't feel my feet. It took 2 weeks for the feeling in my feet to come back. We get back to the dock, called Dan, Divers Alert Network. Here's what happened. One of the dive masters, or I should say the dive master, took a look at my back. I'm like, I feel something here. And he could see where the sea urchin spines went in and broke off. He could actually feel, he's like, I feel hard spots here. I'm like, yeah, I've never had marks back there. So he was like picking at him. He goes, do you feel that? I'm like, I don't feel nothing. So they gave me a ride back to, they're like, do you want to go to the hospital? I'm like, no. I'm like, I'm on a cruise. I'm by myself. My whole family is back on the boat. They know I'm here, but, no, I'm not getting stuck in Freeport, Bahamas. I'll take my chances on the cruise ship, and if need be, get airlifted off the cruise ship because there was a helipad on the ship. So he's like, okay, we called Divers Alert Network. They said, we went through the whole thing, treat it this way. They actually had a sting, an anti-sting stuff there at the dive shop because the dive shop, the dock, and the boat was all right there, which was nice. So they grabbed some stuff out, they rubbed it down, they washed me down. I'm laying on the dock, butt naked, and the dive master and the captain are scrubbing me down with this soap because I can't feel, from my diaphragm down, I can't feel a thing.
Or at least he thought it was soap.
Whatever.
Why is that echo?
I don't hear it.
I hear it.
So we get back. I get dried off. I get dressed, get cleaned up, get dressed, get all my gear packed up. And they're like, well, you want us to call somebody for you? I'm like, that's great. They're all on the cruise ship and we're in Freeport. So like our cell phones aren't working, that kind of stuff. So they gave me a ride back to the boat. Dan was like, well, how's your breathing? By this point, after they gave me the washdown, my diaphragm, I was back to my waist. So from the waist down, I was numb, but I could breathe again comfortably. So I'm like, I'll be fine. Like I said, it took 2 weeks for the feeling to come back in my feet. But after that, anytime I go somewhere, okay, what's the number? If I have to get a hold of you from where I am, how do we get a hold of somebody on a cruise ship? So there is a number that you can call that puts you in touch with the purser's desk that they can then get a hold, like I could have gotten a hold of my wife. I didn't know it on that dive, but now if we go somewhere and we're doing a cruise, all right, what's the number if I'm off the cruise ship and I need to get a hold of the cruise ship so they can get a hold of my wife?
So
That's
okay.
really cool.
So here's a couple plugs, because when we're planning a dive, we want to know emergency information. Where's the nearest chamber? Where's the nearest hospital? How do I do this? Yada, yada, yada. So perfect example of how do I get in touch with my party
Yeah.
should an accident happen. The second plug is it makes sense to have Dan Insurance.
Well, it makes sense to have their number. I had a friend who did not have the insurance, but called them and they helped.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they'll still help you.
Yep,
Yep.
absolutely. They just won't pay for it.
Well, so even if, because they even said, do you want to be airlifted back to the States from Freeport? And I'm like, well, I don't think it's that critical. I'm like, I can still breathe. My breathing's getting better. And they're like, they were, oh, you know, okay, well, who are you? They wanted more information about me. I'm like, look, I'm a 20-year EMT. I've been an instructor at that point, probably 15 years. I'm like, you know, I kind of understand a little bit of the workings of the body, and I'm getting better. So no, I don't think I need to be airlifted from Freeport, Bahamas back to Florida. I don't think that's that critical. You know, my pulse rate's good. My breathing is getting better. My blood pressure's fine. Yada yada yada. We had probably a 30-minute discussion with Dan before they even asked, "Are you a Dan member?"
Right.
They didn't care about any of that. They're like, "Do we need to get you back to the U.S. now?" No. Oh, okay. Oh, by the way, are you a Dan member? Yeah, I'm insured through you guys. Oh, okay. Well, you know, we can do it for you, and it's not going to cost anything. And I went, no. It's all right. As you know, when I get on the cruise ship, if things start to turn around and go the other way, as you will be the first phone call I make. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. You know, but our at that point in, I think it was like 42 hours, we were going to be back in the U.S. anyway. So I'm like, with the way things are going, I think I'll be fine. But yeah, Dan, oh man, Dan Insurance, you can't beat it.
At one point, they had a tag that you would send in all your information, emergency contact, the whole thing, and then you'd place your tag on near your dive gear or wherever it was. Sometimes you even wore it. It was a little, you know, it looked like a dog tag almost.
Mm. But yeah, you can't beat Dan's Insurance. I mean, even the people that work there, like I said, they didn't even ask whether or not I was insured. They wanted to make sure I was okay first. So going on a trip, going somewhere, I always check to make sure that my membership dues are paid up, that my insurance is paid up. Not that I'm planning on using it, but that is one of the things about dive planning and getting ready for a trip and packing. 2 nights ago, I logged in. Okay, I'm good through August. So, you know, I don't have to worry. And you know, Penny's insured as well. And we don't have the high level insurance. We're not paying hundreds of dollars. I think for the two of us, it's $120 a year.
Yep.
You know, to be a member, and then the base level insurance that covers accidental injuries, and like trip. They even covered trip cancellations. You book a whole dive trip, something goes wrong, and they cancel the trip. You can always call them and say, "Hey, you know, here's the money that got spent on the trip." They have different things to help mitigate it.
Yep.
You know, they're not going to cover the whole thing, obviously, but you know, you lose your gear, you ship your gear out, something gets damaged. You know, it's all part of that dive planning and prepping. Dan is a huge part of that.
So, Greg, we haven't heard much about your preparation for a trip. So, what do you?
Mine's really simple. I mean,
Okay.
First off, if you're living out of your truck, well, I mean, if you think about it, most when we're teaching, when we're going away for the weekends and just all diving, you know, my truck is what you live out of basically. So nothing really comes in, but maybe some dirty clothes. I never take, you know, I think it was maybe 15 years or so. I never really took my tanks out of my truck or my my back plate or anything really and put it
Right.
in the garage overnight. Just wasn't that way. The truck was used as, you know, as the place to store everything. So for packing wise, I literally just pulled down everything. It goes right on the ground. Everything that I would normally wear on a dive. And then look at it and say, do I really need it? Yes or no. Relatively simple. And then I'd write it down on a list. And I always had a list and it was packed on top to make life really easy. And it was always, I at 1 year, I made up a bunch of dive slates. I used to cut them at a big sheet of material. So I had them cut up into little, you know, like 4x6s or something. And I just literally just wrote with a black Sharpie everything that I would need on it. And then it was, once again, if I can't replace it very easily, then I carried it on. If I could, it's no big deal. Then it's packed away. Sometimes I would ship, like I always, on some of my trips to Florida, I would always ship my wet stuff home. I really didn't care. I didn't want to carry. I was exhausted from the diving. So I'm like, I'm just going to put it in a box, wrap it up big time, go to the post office and let them deal with it. And that worked out just fine. Never really had any issues. By the time I got home, I literally had a box of, you know, wet junk sitting in the front. So it really wasn't an issue there. You know, one of the things, everybody's so particular on their regulators, on their compasses, and the length of the this and the that. Those are the things you carry on, you know. I always carried my fins on because I knew they were going to be tough to replace. And it's just, everybody has their own, you know, style of gear that they wear. It's kind of funny, if you look around, most people don't have the exact same stuff. So it's just to walk into a shop and say, I want this and that.
No, makes sense. Makes sense. Absolutely.
When I traveled to Canada, I did a lot of trips to Canada.
You drove to that though, right?
We drove, and that was an interesting thing because what I did was I took all the stuff out of my truck and put it in a trailer and towed a trailer up instead.
Right, because you had you and 3 other people or 2 other people.
Yeah, it's just a total of 3 of us would travel together, and so I didn't want their smelly stuff in my truck, and it was just
Makes sense.
yeah. So that's what we did, and surprisingly, I got better gas mileage towing. I don't even understand that. It worked, and it was pretty funny coming back. You know, leaving the United States to Canada, you know, they asked, "What are you guys doing?" Basically, you know, and the answer was really simple: we're going diving. Coming back is when they wanted to search the truck and search the trailer. And the comical part was, you have to picture. It's more comical than anything. Opening up the back, hot. It was, you know, hot days usually, and so everything really smelled really, really bad. And we've got about 15 tanks and everybody's wetsuits and, you know, the whole thing. You can imagine, right? So
That had to stink.
oh, they open up the trailer and the, you know, your eyes explode and they and literally the, you know, the Canadian, I don't know what they are, you know,
Border Patrol.
you know, literally said, you know, you're okay, shut it up, shut the doors, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What? Don't you want to search further? Come on.
Yeah, I always, but literally that's really what it is. It wasn't a real big deal. I did find that, you know, if you're renting a trailer, a U-Haul trailer, because they are the best to rent, you know, for if you're traveling, don't get one that's low, too low. You end up whacking your head every time you get in. And you know, we had one of our friends who literally had a dent in his head the whole time from it.
That would be me.
It wasn't me. I watched him do it, and I'm like, I will not do that. So, yeah, you know, I mean, that's, you know, you got driving and flying, definitely.
Yeah.
And then, of course, if you're the passenger, see, that's another funny part. So when you're the passenger and you're driving, the question is, do I want to bring all my stuff and make them feel like I'm overcrowding their space?
Yep.
That's why with a trailer, just throw it all in the trailer.
I'm bringing whatever I normally dive with. If that's too much gear for you guys, I'm sorry.
Well, we traveled a lot, Todd, and we packed up. You'd come down and meet me down here at the house, and we would we would load that truck up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did he tell you about the time he borrowed my wetsuit?
Actually let somebody borrow your wetsuit?
It gets better.
Oh, you're talking about the half and half? Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, man, that's probably got to be the funniest dive day ever that I've been involved in.
We didn't get a picture.
And we did. There
What
was
Thank
a
God.
camera found. Oh, what a. And on that's when my sister and brother-in-law got certified on that day. Two instructors, and you'd look at us and go, "You guys started diving yesterday, didn't you?" But hey, we had fun. Oh, it was great.
Anyways. Well, the guys, I thought that was I thought it was an important topic because a lot of people do go away on trips, not just dive trips, but trips in general. And I guess the one takeaway that I kind of wanted to enforce is make your list, have your system, make sure you touch everything, make sure you check all your documentation, your passports, your insurance, make sure you do these checks and these double checks. So when you get to where you're going, you can relax and have a good time. You don't have to worry about how am I getting back? I forgot this. How do I get this? You can relax and enjoy it.
Yep.
I will say one thing to add on, talking about enjoying it. When we were in Mexico, well, in Cozumel, we went over to the mainland. I think I used my credit card at this one restaurant, and I got charged like 3 times the amount of what it should have been.
Oh.
So I learned a valuable lesson about paying for things in cash.
Okay.
If you can do that, sometimes you're better off.
And I guess the only reason I don't usually carry a lot of cash, I might carry $50 to $100 when I'm away.
Yeah.
If I lose it, I can live with losing, not that I want to, but $50 or $100. Losing 500 or 1,000,
Totally get it.
that kind of hurts the pocket.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I can call and shut off my credit cards, or actually now I can go on my phone and shut off my credit cards.
When we do the cruises, when we get off on an island where we may want some cash, we'll actually go down to the purser's office. Here's my card. I want $50 in local cash.
Yep.
And we do those little increments like that.
Yep.
And that way there you have the cash. So if you want to street haggle with somebody, you got the cash to do it. But at the same time, you're not risking, like you said, getting charged a lot of money because they ran the card 3 times or who knows what. We do it on the cruise ship. That's the way we've traveled is, we do it on the cruise.
That's right.
Get a little bit of money out. It gets charged against your room. And, if we lose it, it was $50, $100, whatever. It's not a huge deal.
Yeah, especially in a cruise, that's the easiest way to do it. Absolutely.
Yep.
No, all good stuff. Well, Brian, you're leaving on Friday. Be safe. Have
I got to
fun.
leave at 5:30 in the morning.
You can
Shocked.
give me
We
a
feel
call.
bad for you.
I usually get up at 4, so give me a call on your way to the airport or whatnot.
Well, that's because you're in bed in the next 5 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
But no,
Now, you know what it is, Greg, is he's getting old. He only needs to sleep 3 hours a night.
Oh man.
almost,
Oh,
Seriously, have a good time. Be safe. Tell Penny we said careful, and if she needs help burying the body, let me know.
burying what body? She knows about the Dateline hug.
Guys, have fun. Definitely have
We
fun.
will.
Guys, once again, Brian, Greg, thanks a lot for everything you're doing. I can't tell you how much I love these conversations.
Mhm.
And we'll talk soon.
You got
We
it.
will.
Have a good night.
Okay, bye.